Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today it comes at us from Chuck. From the Boston, Massachusetts area, they're a technical metal band, could be called progressive deathcore, that draws other influences as well. They formed in 2007. Believe they have a different drummer and rhythm guitarist now versus when they started. They most recently played a show mid-May and are still active. I think they're writing new stuff currently. Alright, I figure this is going to be fairly intense then. Let's dive into The Summoned and see what they're bringing to the table with the track Faradic. Getting right into it from the start. A very brisk 4/4. There's a 10-beat phrase, shifting to alternating 4 and 6. Mostly to accommodate that low growl there. Yeah, very cool melodic drum work there. Yeah. Very cool atmosphere on the arpeggiation. Oh, wait, no, it's not bouncing back and forth. There's two distinct guitar lines here. Yeah. There's a 7. Yeah. So kind of a pedal note here, descending pattern over on the left. The bass tearing it up too. Oh, what a wild way to, I mean, musically, sure, we're already chopping things up. We kind of have all these interjected stops anyways, but visually, that's an interesting place to wrap that up. Not even like the video gets to fade out or move to credits or something. Like the video stops as abruptly as the music does. Yeah, dude. Intense. right from the get-go. They don't ever really give you any moment to take a breath. Well, there was one, I suppose. It was after the... Well, what's the structure on this? It's tough to talk about it when I can't just say, you know, the chorus. Most people are going to be able to pick up the chorus. It's the repeated section, but this just feels like a blur of linear ideas. There's a section about 45 seconds into this track, though, when we get these smoother, clean electric or cleanish electric guitar chords and this beautiful melodic drum work. The intensity drops down quite a bit at that moment, but it's the only moment where you can take a breath. Everything else is full intensity all of the time. And you got to be ready for it from the kickoff. And it isn't just intense sonically, which, yes, this is whatever this is. Progressive deathcore is probably a good description of it. It's aggressive, it's loud, it's gnarly, it's harmonically tense in a lot of places as well. But it's also rhythmically complex too. It's not just difficult to digest sonically. There's a lot going on rhythmically, both in phrasing and, you know, technically, actually odd time signatures. On the one hand, there's quite a few sections in here that are genty, very syncopated rhythms on top of a groovy backbeat. Something that is probably in 4/4. I can't say it's always in 4/4, but a lot of gent and gent-related metal, very groovy stuff like this tends to be in 4/4, very traditional time signature. And that 4/4 is viewed larger, a 4-bar phrase, so 16 beats to play around with. And just you chop those 16 beats up in wild ways using both sounds and silence. Da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-dun, da-da-da-da-da-dun. You get those short bursts of nothing in there. And it makes things feel groovy, but it also makes it feel choppy. And if you're trying to catch the pulse of these ideas, they quite frequently kick off and accentuate between the beats. So it's kind of difficult to groove with them, but there's usually some sort of crash cymbal in this song. You can hear it all over the place. Just really leaning into some sort of bass pulse that you can feel. And this creation of the bass pulse with the syncopated ideas that dance and play around the downbeat is what makes it feel so groovy, so sick. So we do have these moments where if you try to count it out, yeah, you might have some trouble with that, but there is something there that's going to help you feel the beat. But there's also the other side of the equation where we actually go into some really wild time signature stuff too. If you remember back to the beginning of the track, I conducted out a very brisk 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was probably about 1.5 times that, but if you've never known what conducting means, in 4/4 you got the down, left, or I guess inside, outside, and up. Down, in, out. That's a pretty standard 4/4 conducting. And yeah, so we had that right at the start, and it wasn't but 20 seconds later, we were immediately put into a 10-beat phrase. Not divided evenly with 5 and 5, but 4 and kind of 3 and 3, where the first 3 feels a lot like the 4, and then the last 3 is when the growls get really low and the drums are like, and the drums and guitar just like slower, heavier, really emphasizing those 3 beats there before getting back into the frantic, more dexterous stuff. So we get 10 there. Honestly, the best way to probably show that in sheet music would be 5/4, but you're dancing around the bar lines then. Something that would be more visually pleasing to some people, maybe just to do a bar of 4, a bar of 3, and a bar of 3, but shifting time signatures like that can be confusing to sight read too. So this is one of those things where, as with a lot of progressive metal bands, it's quite possible they play all by gut. They just know what it sounds like and they play it that way. Maybe they've never written it in sheet music or tablature in their life. They just know how it goes. But yeah, complex stuff. Not too long after we've locked into a 4/4. There's a section in here that I don't remember if it was 5 or 7. It was definitely 7. And yeah, we have that too. And the 7 pulse was wild because it was inside of a section that also had some of that groovy gent stuff in it. So there's just layers of rhythmic complexity going on all at the same time. And the song just bounces around between all of these. Sometimes it's straightforward 4/4 with weird phrasing, weird pulsing. Sometimes it's an odd time signature that is using some sort of odd phrasing within that too. It is a wild hurricane, tornado, if you will, of metric ideas. And it is a song that keeps you on your toes. And honestly, or I guess with the tornado off your toes, it is a song that was dumb. I'll be honest though, for 3.5 minutes, this felt closer to 7 for me. The sheer intensity of it, and of course, I'm listening to it analytically, critically. I'm really trying to hear every part at all times, and there's so much going on that I was quite fatigued at the end of this, like I would be with the longer track. Whereas usually 3-minute songs, I look at them and there's a bit of relief. This would be pretty easy to listen to. Maybe a verse chorus, and we repeat the verse chorus. Maybe there's a unique bridge. Maybe the bridge is just something else that we've heard. Maybe it's like the chorus with a solo over it. Then we wrap it up on a chorus. Even if it's a bit more progressive writing, the structure is going to help keep it more contained, And then I get into this, and it feels like so much music just constantly washing over me. And the consistent and constant and frantic shifting of the time signature, the phrasing, the meter, all of it, that's one part that contributes to it. But it's also just overwhelming generally. The vocals are all over the place. There's like 2 or 3, I like 2 different higher pitched ideas. One of them might be a higher growl, false chord, and then I think there's a fry scream in there. And then we have the lower sound that I think is actually a lower fry scream. Anyone who's more well versed in harshes, let me know. This dude's vocals are all over the place, though. They're incredibly aggressive. There's so much texture and compression to them, and it's 3 minutes being yelled at, which is it's a thing. There's something about metal growls that while I find them to be a bit monotonous and honestly kind of boring at times, there's a reassurance to it where it just kind of becomes background noise, and this type of vocal work does not allow that. It feels in your face constantly. And I'm sure repeated listens, you kind of ease into it, and it's part of the song. Maybe you learn the words and you sing along with it. Now you're not being screamed at, you're being screamed with, and that's a big change. But it is overbearing listening to this guy shifting in all these styles and just constantly being incredibly aggressive in the best way possible. I'm speaking with love here. It is incredibly oppressive. But then all the guitar riffs that are in here, and as fast as they are and as quickly as they shift too. There was that one section I really liked where we went from tense chords that were only embellished by the overdrive and the compression that was making these tense sounds even larger. And we did like, I don't know, a bar of that. The tempo was so fast. I think it was a bar of that. And then we would get this cool arpeggiation. And the arpeggiation kind of felt moody, dreary, a little eerie even. And then we'd go back to the intense harmonic stuff and then to this really moody arpeggiation. Arpeggiation is just playing out the notes of a chord. Instead of just strumming the whole chord, you go do 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 do, and you can arpeggiate as high up as you want, as far down as you want. You don't have to go up, 4 notes and come back down. That is what they did, which is why I did that. But it's just any movement across a chord, and I don't know, it sounded so cool, and it was this moment of, well, kind of reprieve. I mean, atmospherically, emotionally, it's still intense, but there's something almost dreamlike to it. A moment to breathe against all the sharper rhythms and intense chordal work. You just kind of have this cool little arpeggiation here. But the guitars are all over the place. The bass is booming, dude. That is a massive bass tone, and I'll be honest, I think it gets a little muddy in some of the runs, but I think that the sheer force that the bass ends up commanding at the low end because of this production style, it's just rule of cool, dude. It works artistically, even though it's a little less audible. There's some very cool bass runs in here too. There's one moment where pretty much everything cuts out but bass, and you get to really hear what it's playing, but it is persistent through this entire track, holding down the low end because honestly, the guitars have no interest in in that area at all, and often they don't even have any interest in anything rhythm section adjacent. They're all leads almost all the time. In fact, there's that one section I really loved that kind of brought a bit of a post-hardcore element to the song. I know metal can do this and has done this, but I find it to be less frequent than punk related music. It's just dual guitars kind of doing their own thing. This shows up a ton in post-hardcore, and pretty much it's a given anything swancore related. So I thought it was very cool to hear on this track. Although I guess that if it is deathcore, it does have roots in punk somewhere. That's where the core part comes in. But yeah, these two guitars are just wow, dude. One of them is very rhythmic, and it's kind of like chopping in and out. You get a couple notes and nothing, a couple more notes, kind of doing that gent thing. Well, on the other side, we just have this constant melody going. And at first I thought they were bouncing back and forth on panning, but no, they were just doing their own thing. They just happen to every once in a while. One cuts out, well, one cuts in, and then they swap back and forth a little bit before going on their own way and continuing to do whatever it is they're doing. You have both of those lines going on. The bass is just tearing it up with constant eighth notes underneath that, and the vocalist is doing this quasi-sung, semi-melodic, harsh vocal stuff. The drummer is keeping a beat while also doing these melodic runs too, and there's just so much going on at one time, and it's incredibly overbearing. And I do find that that is probably the greatest strength of this track. Just how overwhelming it can be, how much of everything there is, and yet it never falls apart. I mean, in a phrase, it's controlled chaos. But even when you look at the phrasing of everything, I mentioned that I couldn't really find a through line structurally on this track. I'm sure there might be some sort of verse and chorus idea. There was something in here that I felt was repeated, so we did return to a section towards the end of the track. But it might make more sense with repeat listens, which is pretty typical. But on my first listen here, it just feels like 3.5 minutes of linear movement where we're changing every 20 seconds. And it never falls apart either. New parts are added, parts are removed, parts are changed, instruments come in, instruments duck out. The drums will be doing something that locks into a beat here, and then something totally melodic here. And the guitars will be groovy for a moment, and then melodic, and then they'll kind of lean a little harmonic. And it's just, how do you control all of this and turn it into something cohesive? That's the thing that really blows my mind as someone who doesn't make music like this, and honestly, I don't think I could make music like this. How do you approach this? I don't even know. There's so many points in this track when I just thought to myself, there's no way you can keep building off of this. And they do. And at some points they don't. They just discard everything and jump to a totally new idea, which is, metal and harsh transitions. That genre just loves it. But I think in a case like this, it works because everything's so frantic anyways. Who cares if we make a massive shift in the middle of a song? Atmospherically, it's all fairly solid, and maybe that's the glue that holds it all together. Let me hit some lyrics on this, and then we're going to wrap this video up. Lyrically, it looks like someone gets transported to another world. I mean, that's the very literal idea that's going on here. I don't know if there's a second layer to this. It says, strapped down and bound without a choice. I feel this deep pulse inside. I'm trapped between this lucid state and a dreamscape. Visions of myself swarm around my mind, and I land in a barren world, unaware of my fate. No one will ever know the fear that comes with this. This is my life. This is my quest now. As I endure through the years, my destiny seems unclear. Traveling so far, I cannot seem to go back. Trapped in a world of answers I seem to lack. Look to the sky, I can't find the path that I seek. Walk on through to the outer realm. With your third eye, say goodbye. I'm trapped. So maybe there's a second level to this, or maybe it's just the first level tale that seems to be what's being directly spoken about. Someone who meditated hard enough and lost their spirit to another realm. I mean, it does say that they're stuck between a lucid state and a dreamscape. And of course, the third eye mentioned at the end of the track certainly points in that direction as well. Feeling transported to a new realm and feeling lost within that, I certainly felt lost within this sound and consistently found myself, well, originally I described it as being in a tornado. So the mental transportation between realms, that's kind of apt. So yeah, I think they did a great job at combining these two. However, given the type of music they make, I think it might just be more coincidence than anything else. I would like to hear some other music of theirs, but I'd wager it's just as chaotic and, well, deathcore, as the band was described to me, as this track is, in which case this is just a happy joining of these two themes, where maybe other tracks have lyrics that are less about chaos and feeling lost, despite the music probably being in the same realm as what we just listened to. Those are my thoughts then on the summons, Faradic. Let me know what you thought of this. If there's anything that stood out to you, anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on. You can put your own thoughts, opinions, and perspectives on this track, whatever you'd like to add, into the comment section below. Above that, you'll be able to find my link tree, sure, but I'm also going to find links for the summoned. I don't know how large they are, but on YouTube they have less than 300 subscribers. They certainly seem like a small-time band, and I'd love to help promote them. So any social media links, streaming links, websites, merch, anything I can find, I'm going to put in the description box. Above that, like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you head on over to any of their stuff, like, subscribe, hearts, thumbs up, stars, whatever the metric is, show them some love from this community. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.